G'day everyone and welcome to this week's edition of the RacingBet preview show. I'm back up after a couple of weeks in the spelling paddock and ready to bring you a stack of winners from Ascot, Rosehill and Caulfield this Saturday, which will be January 30. I'm your host Tim Gears, joined as I am each and every week by Trent Creven, who's had to hold up the RacingBet fort for the past couple of weeks. Trent, how you been going?
Yeah, I've been going all right. Done a bit of everything over the past couple of weeks. Stuck flat with Melbourne. Been going all right there. I've got a few good horses coming back. Went up to Queensland for the Magic Millions and came away with a couple of profitable weeks up there as well. So it's been good, but it's good to have you back as well.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Always a couple of weeks in the paddock, especially at this time of year after a pretty grueling spring carnival and summer carnival over here in Perth is always good for the brain. And looking forward to getting back into it because it won't be long at all before the Group 1s fire up in Melbourne and Sydney. I think the first of those kicks off next weekend over in Melbourne with the Orr Stakes, if I'm right. But before then, we've got plenty of listed and group racing in Perth, Melbourne and Sydney this weekend. At Ascot, we've got the Scenic Blast Stakes. At Caulfield, we've got the Chairman Stakes, the Manfred Stakes, and in Sydney, we've got the Expressway, the Widden and the Canonbury Stakes. So plenty to look forward to and plenty of winners to be found on RacingBet.com.au. We'll kick off with our best bets, brought to you this week by WinnersBet, Australian owned and operated. If you haven't got an account with them, head over to winnersbet.com.au and we thank them for sponsoring this week's RacingBet preview. And we're going to try and find you our best bets across the board. And we'll kick off over here in Western Australia at Ascot. I'm going to be a little bit risky this week. I tried something different during the week. It didn't quite work off, and I'm going to try and do it again and hope the result turns out a little bit better. But I'm tipping a maiden in race number 1 on the card as my best bet of the day at Ascot this weekend. Race number 1, horse number 4, Cishern. It's currently a $2.60 chance. This is one of these, kind of icky West Speed Platinum races. They can be pretty unreliable form references, and we often see a bunch of horses turning up, just about every week trying to crack a maiden in these rich races. So this is the least exposed horse in the race. He's only had the one career start, which was at Pinjarra. He was held up to about the 200-metre mark on that occasion, and he actually ran home in the fastest final 200 metres of the entire meeting, which is pretty impressive for a maiden having its first start. He was $26 on that occasion, so there is, a little bit of risk for those that follow starting price profiles. But I just really think that there's not a great deal to this race. As I said, a lot of these horses just turn up week in, week out, trying to crack their maiden, and this is the fresh horse on the scene. I really like the way he finished his race off last start. That was behind What About Moy, who's, probably a $7 chance in one of the tougher races later on in the card. So I think that's a decent form reference. And look, so long as he's close enough on the turn and with even luck, I think he would just be winning this. Horse number 4, Cishern. Main danger, probably number 9, Molly McGee, who's knocking on the door and does get a stack of gear changes today to try and help her get her first career win. But yeah, pretty keen to have a good bet here to open the card at Ascot. Race 1, number 4, Cishern, $2.60 at present. It's my best bet of the day. Something a little bit more value, and I had to really kind of, get my teeth stuck into the card to find this one. Throwing a little bit of a Hail Mary here, but I'm going with race number 5, horse number 9, Duck Feet, as my best value bet on the card. The form is nothing to be overly inspired about. It's had 2 starts this preparation, beaten 8.8 lengths and 2.8 lengths last start. But I just think after a couple of runs back, this horse could be ready to do something. Keyword being could. It is a $34 chance at the moment, but it's got a reasonably good third-up record. It's had 5 starts for a win and 2 second placings, and there was good improvement from that first up run to that second up run. As I said, only beaten about 2.5 lengths last start, and did come from last on the turn after drawing barrier 13 for apprentice Hannah Fitzgerald. Jade McNaughton's booked to ride today, so the senior rider goes on, draws a little bit better in barrier 7. If you look back through this horse's form, it's actually not too bad. She's finished off behind the likes of She's a Light, who's a stakes winner this preparation. And has been racing, last preparation against the likes of Our Ideal, Inspirational Girl back there early last preparation. So, look, I'm trying to make a case here, but just at $34 could be a knockout hope and a little Hail Mary to try and get us through the middle of the card. Race number 5, horse number 9, Duck Feet, my best value bet of the day at Ascot. Trent, we'll handball things over to you in Melbourne at Caulfield. Your best comes up in race number 3, horse called Hasseltoff, just a touch over $3 at the moment. Tell us your thoughts there.
Yeah, I found this card quite tricky overall, but I did think race 3 Hasseltoff was probably one of the better bets of the day. He was just badly held up last start. Drew Barrier won there, just kind of had to get off. He was really late. The winner high and dry was already off and gone by the time he'd gotten out. And he did run on nicely for second, but probably you could make the case that he should have won, if not finished a lot closer to him. The start before that was really strong, where he kind of sat handy to the speed, got some gaps late, and really exploded away to win well. I like him back up to the 1800 meters here. His last start was dropping back in distance to the mile. I just think he sets up a lot better here from barrier 3 here. Jamie Carr keeps the ride. This race is not really any harder than last start, and I think he back up to the 1800 meters is going to be very hard to beat in race 3.
Now, I've had a couple of weeks off, but not much change while I was gone. How good's J Carr going?
Yeah, she's still absolutely flying. You can always trust her with anything. Wasn't her best ride last start, but I think it was more just a bit of victim of barrier 1 there rather than anything to do with her. And I'm pretty keen she'll make amends this week.
All right, let's take a look at your best value bet on the card. It comes up in the race immediately before your best bet. It's race number 2 on the card. You're keen on horse number 4, Strategic Phil, at $10.
Yeah, I've just gone looking for a bit of different form here, because a lot of these come through the same kind of BM78 races, the likes of Aussie Nugget, Think and Fly, and that horse that brings the Hasseltoff form high and dry as well. And they're very even, and it just always seems to come down to who gets the best run. But Strategic Phil brings a bit of different form, and I think it could be a touch better here. He brings some open handicap form. He ran well last start behind Viral and Rule the World, which I think is at least comparable to the other kind of favourite form that the other ones are coming out of. I think he's ready to win here, 4th up to 1600 metres. He's got a pretty strong record at 1600 metres for a horse that doesn't win out of turn, I would say is probably a fair way of putting it. 4th up last prep at the mile. He ran a narrow second to Holbein, which I think is strong enough form for this. I think he maps quite well. Barrier 5 should be perfect. There's not a whole lot of speed in this race, and I think a lot of the favourites are going to get quite a long way back. So I think he can just probably land one out, one back from barrier 5, and I think he's going to be right in the finish at a double figure quote.
Yep, $10 and $2.70 each way available there at winnersbet.com.au, and $3.20 available for Hasseltoff in race number 3, your best bet on the card. $3.20 with WinnersBet. We'll move over to Rosehill. I'm back in the groove in Sydney this week, ahead of a big autumn carnival ahead. First week back in Sydney, a little bit daunting. My focus has been over here in Perth for the majority of the summer, but looking forward to getting back into the Eastern States racing, and a really solid card to kick things off. But I do have a little bit of PTSD about what I'm about to say, and a little bit of deja vu, because my best bet on the card, I'm going to make race number 9, horse number 7, Master Crusader. I have bad memories of making this horse my best bet, I think, last preparation. I can't remember if it was first up. I think it was first up at a similar price, and he ran second. But I reckon we're going to see a little bit more intent from the stable today to win this race. I reckon first up last preparation, there was half intent to actually win that race. Like, they were just kind of giving him a blowout first up, and if they won, bonus. But it backfired. But I reckon, after his disappointing preparation last time in, I reckon they'll have this horse ready to go first up to win this race. And if his recent trials anything to go by, he's returning in superb order. I think he's just better than the rest of these horses. It's not a bad race, but I think he's better than benchmark 88 grade. So I expect him to turn up first up here and win. Even money's about as short as you'd want to go after what he did last preparation. Couldn't get him much shorter than that. But yeah, as I said, I'm just tipping him to be the best horse in the race. Interesting to note, there is a little bit of rain predicted at Rosehill. I suspect the track will be somewhere around a soft. Hoping it doesn't get into the heavy rain. I wouldn't want him to be racing first up on the heavy, but tipping it's going to be in the soft range. And if it is, yeah, as I said, I think he'll be too good at even money. That's race number 9, horse number 7, Master Crusader, Team Hawks and Tommy Berry. My best value bet on the card is in race number 6, and this is a horse that's going to love the wet. Probably the wetter the better for this horse, but as long as it isn't a good track, I think this horse is going to be right in the money. Unfortunately, I did miss the early price because they put up $18 about this horse, and he's currently into $8. And that is right down the very bottom there. Horse number 12, Bluff and Buster, for Jason Coyle and Rachel King, another female jockey who's just continues to boot home the winners. As I said, $18 upon opening, now into $8. But this horse's record in the wet is phenomenal. It's had 4 starts on soft ground for 3 wins and a third, and 2 placings from 2 starts on the heavy. So if the track ends up in the soft range, I reckon this horse is in this race up to its ears. It was a winner on a soft track 2 starts ago at Randwick over 1,400 metres. Came from back in the field. Lovely ride from Rachel King and got up in the final stride to win by a nose. Wasn't disgraced last start, beaten about 2.5 lengths on a firmer deck. And as I said, the key today, the wet track, I think will bring it right into it. Had 3 starts at the distance for 2 wins and a second placing. Barrier 3, down in the minimum weight. Does go up in grade a little bit, but gets conditions to suit it. And an each way price, happy to have a bet there. Horse number 12, race number 6, Bluff and Buster at $8. That's all of our best bets for Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. Trent, did you follow the Hong Kong racing last night?
I did, but after the fact, I saw plenty of social media tweeting that you'd nailed a few best bet and a big price winner that I unfortunately was not on. But nonetheless, well done. I'll have to look a little bit earlier next time.
Yeah, God bless Zach Burton, seriously. And moment of power, just a lovely little drift from 20. I mean, I took 20 to 1, but he did drift out to 50 to 1, where you had to kind of have a little nibble again. 20 to 1 goes on the spreadsheet, but as I said, drifted to 50 to 1, and Burton and Moreira fighting it out down the straight, and Zach just picks this thing up the final 100 metres and throws it over the line. Doesn't get much better than that. Very good way to get back into things, and looking forward to the weeks ahead on RacingBet.com.au. We're going to have so much coverage for you. Probably looking at expanding. I think this weekend we're expanding to Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, and Brisbane for probably the first time, I think. So you'll find all of our selections on RacingBet.com.au. Trent, you'll be covering Flemington in detail tomorrow, that being Friday. And of course, we'll have Canterbury on Friday night as well. So plenty to look forward to. Doesn't stop. And we'll have it all on RacingBet.com.au. We thank winnersbet.com.au for their support of the show this week. Jump online, check out their odds, and make sure you have a bet with the Australian-owned and operated company, winnersbet.com.au. And Trent, man, you'll be back to do this all again next week.